Hello there. This is Lee from COR. Greetings to you today, wherever you are, whatever you're doing. Thanks for taking time to check this out. I'm really excited to discuss this today. We're trying to do these little videos and teaching some little pieces that are part of our core curriculum, and to share with you some of the gems of our work. And I'm really excited to share this one with you in particular. This is a little bit about voice and speech and presenting ourselves from, hey guys, nice to see you, we're going to talk about voice and speech and presenting ourselves from, in core language, what we call the healthy self, right? So why is this important? The reason this is really interesting and fascinating to me, and by the way, we're going to take about half hour for this total, maybe 20 minutes. I want to share with you some of the gold I have, I think, to share, some wonderful theory and some practices you can take with you. And then we'll open it up to some Q&A if anything you want to discuss around this. And why I think this is valuable is most of us find ourselves in public situations where we have to present something. Some of you are corporate folk, and some of you have families, some of you are teachers. In any situation where we find ourselves presenting publicly, this is where we want to really access our healthy self, right? And so what I'm talking about today is not so much on one-on-one relationships, although there'll be some overlap there too. We want to step into our healthy self in a one-on-one relationship as well, of course, and all those intimate relationships. But this is really when we are having to present something, having to teach something, having to facilitate something in front, I'm going to call it public. And by public, I mean any group of people. And again, that could be a small group at home, public situation, or it could be giving a talk to 2,000 people at a corporate event. And the challenge is that, the challenge really in those situations, I would say, is to maintain our healthy self. And how do we do that? And so that's the skill we're going to look at today. How do I maintain my healthy self in one of those presentational leadership teaching situations? And you're going to see me glance over here from time to time. I got cool stuff. I got my notes over here. And what happens is we sometimes lose ourselves in those situations. So I'm going to invite you to call to mind right now. I'm going to pause for a moment. Call to mind a situation where you recently had to present something publicly or speak publicly. It could be formal or informal, doesn't matter. This doesn't mean this has to be a paid professional event, but sometime when you were in front of a group of people and you felt that you somehow lost yourself. And we're going to talk about what it's like to find yourself in those situations too, but for a moment, just take a moment, close your eyes even if it feels good, and kind of find that moment when you were in a situation when you were speaking or presenting and you felt like you lost yourself. Sometimes it feels like a shrinking, a disappearing. Sometimes it feels like a big overcompensation. Just take a moment. I'm going to stop talking and see if you can find that moment. Remember what it feels like in your body. Oh, I got lots of them. So notice whatever that moment is that you may be remembering, what does it feel like when you don't present, don't speak, don't stand in your healthy self? What does it feel like in your body? Just notice that. You can share it or not share it. Just notice it for yourself. What does it feel like? And yeah, what are the qualities of that experience? It's some version of probably losing your healthy self. There may be fear in the belly. There may be a collapsing in the body. There may be a pounding heartbeat. There may be, the chatter, the mind chatter. We start to forget what we're going to say, right? It's like we are disappearing. Yeah. And what tends to happen, in my experience, to us in those kinds of situations is one of two things. We shrink even further into the point of disappearing into kind of the fear ball, or we become big and owning the space, so to speak, and forceful and loud and obnoxious and opinionated. We can think of some politicians who may fall into that category, right? I'm not naming names. There are probably a dozen that come to mind. Those are two things that would cause us. Those are two ways that we can lose our healthy self. So I'm gonna, in core language, for those of you who've done the leadership development training, you'll know this. You'll hear us talk about. We spend a lot of time talking about the inflated and deflated ego. So this is what tends to happen to us when we have a public presentation to give. Inflated or deflated ego. Inflated, that part of me that I'm the best, I'm the most awesome, I can plow through it. And the deflated is the part of me that's like, no, that little voice, I'm rotten, I'm no good, I can't, there's no value in me, and it gets smaller and smaller and smaller. And for most of us, this is where we tend to yo-yo back and forth, right? The healthy self is that place in the middle, and that's what we're going to look at now. How do we establish the healthy self? Some of the qualities of healthy self in presentation, I'm aware of myself and I'm aware of others, right? So there's an awareness to the healthy self. And you're core folk, you're hearing this, you're probably a core person. And so as you're, I'm just smiling when the hearts come, you know, it makes me smile. If you're hearing this, you're very likely a core person. And you know this discussion about the healthy self. So the question is, what does the healthy self feel like in your body? What does healthy self feel like in your body? Again, answering that for yourself, just what is it like? What are the qualities of the healthy self? Well, one thing we could say is that we can be transparent, but grounded by the mind. Transparent, guided, let me say rather, I say guided by the mind. Grounded in the body, guided by the mind, emotionally available in between. So grounded in the body, guided by the mind, and emotionally available in between. That's some of the qualities of the healthy self. And this is how we want to be when we're giving a presentation. So I'm going to borrow some terminology here that I just think is just so awesome. We've talked about for years at COR presence. Presence, presence, presence. Now there's a, terminology mindfulness, which really means presence, and a practical application of presence, being mindfulness. There was a wonderful writer a few years ago who came up with a book called Presence, and she's Patsy Rodenberg, and this is her book. It's called Presence, and Patsy's wonderful. She's a voice and speech teacher. You know, for those of you, another story for another day, but many lifetimes ago, I used to be an actor, you know that, in LA and Denver and New York. That was another life. Anyway, voice and speech was a big part of what we do as actors. Well, Patsy Rodenberg, you would know her if you were an actor, especially with Shakespeare. She's well known in the theater community. Patsy came up with this wonderful book called Presence, and I'm gonna use some of her terminology that I'm adapting. And consider this when you're thinking about presence and public speaking and voice and speech. I love the way Patsy describes this. She says there are 3 different circles: first, second, and third circle. This is a great way to think about this. So I'm going to invite you to apply this to yourself in a few minutes. First, second, and third circle. So this is what Patsy says. First circle is what we might connect to the deflated ego. So first circle is, and we're going to talk about it in terms of an energetic circle. I'm going to stand up a little bit. Sometimes you're not going to see my face, and I'm going to do my best to kind of guide you through what I'm talking about here. But first circle is that place of shrinking, smallness, self-involved, disappearing, right? So energetically, it happens energetically, and it happens in our body. So we come into a situation, sometimes this happens with family, right? Sometimes family is a big trigger. Or think about situations and places where you tend to go first circle. So first circle, again, pulling into myself, introverted, not connecting, and there's a feeling to it of being disembodied. Feeling to it of being disembodied. This is first circle. By the way, we all spend some time in all of these circles. This isn't like a right or wrong thing. What we are cultivating is what we're going to describe in a moment as second circle. But first circle is that place of shrinking, disappearing, I'm almost not here, right? Okay. We could say a lot more about these, but I'm just going to keep this to about 20 minutes today and just want to skim through them. That's first circle. Third circle. Third circle is what we in the LDT might describe as the inflated ego. So the third circle is this part of me that is big and overpowering and not connected and really claiming space in the room, right? So I walk into a room and I want to be big. Now this is what we call third circle, big energy, big energy. Now what I'm not talking about, but just consider this for a moment, maybe we can talk about it for just a moment. What is the effect of these two different circles to an audience or to a client? Yeah? Just for a moment, consider what is the effect in being in the presence of someone who's in first circle, who's shut down, who's introverted, who's shrinking, right? What is the effect? What is the effect on you when I do this? Yeah. First circle territory. It's not a leadership place, and it's not comfortable to be in the space of someone who's living in first circle. It's almost like you want to caretake me, maybe. Are you okay? Doesn't instill confidence, right? Well, what's it like to be in the presence of someone who's in third circle, right? So my way or the highway. And this is me claiming big space, big stance, big energy. Now this can happen energetically, it can happen somatically, right? So by energetically, I mean it's in my voice, it's in my intention, it's in my mind. This happens through, this isn't the place of discussion, this is the place of I'm going to tell you how it is, right? And usually this is a compensation for the feelings of first circle. So often we go back and forth between first and third circle, yeah? Anybody recognize yourself having existed periodically in first or third circle? And often we yo-yo back and forth between the two. This is a question I have for you. Where do you find that your default hangout is? That's a question I have. And I just invite you to consider that for yourself. Where's your default? So if you've got to speak in front of a group of people or you've got to be present in front of a group of people, really helpful way to think is, where's my favorite hangout place? First circle or third circle? Where do you tend to go? Yeah? Just notice. Just notice. We all have our favorites. I'll give you an example of, well, I'll tell you what. Let's just do this. If you're in a place where you can do this, just if you're in a place you can do this, put it on right now. You can do it with me. Let's go first circle. So first circle is usually the head is pulled in, arms may be crossed, body is small, shoulders rolled forward. Sorry, I got the light behind me here in my office. Hope you can see. Often the feet, the stance of first circle is very narrow, right? Very narrow. And what happens to our voice in first circle, so try this out. Stand this way. What happens to our voice in first circle is usually very shallow breathing. And our voice usually gets very diminished. There's no lung power. Just try it out. Take on posture of first circle for just a moment. There's very little lung power in first circle because there's very little space to breathe. So this is something of the feeling of first circle. Just see what that feels like. Now just let that go. Feels good to let that go. Let go of first circle. And just for a moment, take on your version of third circle. Version of third circle. Third circle, let's try. Here are a couple postures for third circle. Stand with a wide posture. Feet, you can't see where I'm standing right now, but feet wider than your shoulders. You want feet wider than your shoulders, right? Shoulders back, and really taking up a lot of space. Feeling very expansive. Feeling very expansive. Yeah? Head, and I'm going to give you a little model of this, and try this out. Head is usually tilted back, chest is open, and there's a feeling of this, behind this, that I'm very big. I'm very big. Yeah, so just notice that. Try that on for yourself. See what that's like. Okay, third circle. So that's third circle. I want to give you a quick little story where this really affected me. I'll give you an example of third circle. I have a gym that I love in my neighborhood here, and I go there several times a week, and there's these trainers. The trainers lead these classes. And one day a substitute trainer was there, and I love the trainers and I love the gym, and this person I didn't know, and she came through the door and her spandex and very ripped. Nothing wrong with being ripped. Notice I'm not saying that. Nothing wrong with being healthy, nothing wrong with spandex, nothing wrong with any of that. But one of the qualities of third circle is, hey, look at me. So one of the qualities of first circle is I'm going to disappear. One of the qualities of third circle is, hey, look at me, right? So she came in, the hair done and the spandex and really worked out and buff. And she said, so I asked a question. She said, get some weights. And she said, pick up some weights. And I said, okay, what size weight should I get? Well, she spent 5 minutes telling me about the theory behind weights. But she didn't tell me actually what exercise we're going to do and what size weights I needed. So there were several qualities here that were very third circle. First of all, it was all about her. She's very big in her energy. And this is a real quality of third circle, not really attuned to the needs of anybody else, right? We know people like this in our lives. She wasn't actually attuned to my need. And she spent a lot of the class actually referencing herself. She's like, look at this part of my body, look at that part of my body. I thought, interesting. I didn't feel seen. I didn't feel welcomed. I didn't feel included, right? This is what happens where we're in the space of third circle, right? So first circle, third circle. Now what we want to cultivate is this beautiful place that we call second circle. So second circle. What is it? Well, there are 3 ways we put ourselves into second circle when we're in a public situation. Energy, attention, and somatic experience. You may want to write those down, but I'm just going to describe each one of them really briefly. Energy, attention, and somatic experience. So let me back that up for 1 second. If you want to benefit from this little teaching and take it with you into the world, here's what I would suggest you do today. Check out for yourself what circle you generally find yourself in. Just pause, set an alarm, especially if you're in a public situation, but you can check yourself anytime on this, but set an alarm for 3 hours from now. Let the alarm go off and let that pause you and check yourself. Are you feeling first or third or second circle? And we're going to define second circle really clearly in just a second. So that's the first thing you can do is check out, where do I tend to go throughout my day? Yeah. I'll also share with you personally that my default place, here's a little secret, tends to be third circle. I tend to go third circle as a teacher. It's pretty easy for me to go third circle. It's probably why the trainer at the gym triggered me. It was like, oh, she's so third circle. Wait a minute, I'm pretty third circle sometimes. So my journey has been to really listen, to pull back from the teaching, because I love to teach. And my journey of the past 20 years has been to ask more questions and to really listen and to stop talking so much. That's been my journey. So one of the things you can kind of attune yourself to is, what is your journey? Going from first into second or third into second? And to go back to those 3 points, energy, attention, and somatic experience. So the 3 things we can bring to this journey is energy. Just noticing energetically, where is my energy? So energetically, first circle tends to be small and tight, right? And apologetic. Third circle energy tends to be big and beyond the bounds of what's been requested. Second circle energy, healthy self-energy, occupies my body. It can radiate out from me, but I feel as though, to use this kind of phrase, I'm in my body. I fill my body. So this is a great tool I want to give you just to check in with yourself. If your body were an outline, right? You were a sketch. Are you feeling like you've just colored in the middle bit of the sketch? Or have you scribbled out all over the lines and have blown past it? When we're healthy self, when we're second circle, and we're going to spend the last few minutes of our call in a little bit very soon doing some exercises to get into second circle. But when I'm in second circle, I will feel as though I'm occupying my body energetically. That's the first thing I'll say about it. So energetically, I am in me. I'm not over there totally on your side of the court, and I'm not apologizing for my existence. Here I am, second circle, occupying my space. So that's energy. Attention. My attention is on me and you. It's a wonderful thing, wonderful way to know that we're in second circle, to cultivate second circle. I'm paying attention to my experience, and I'm paying attention to you. Yeah? And then the third one is the somatic experience. So somatic experience meaning turning my attention to my body. let me say, as you establish second circle, let's say you have a presentation later today or tomorrow, you're going to speak to a group of people, whatever that may be. As you do that, bring your attention to energetically what you're feeling, yeah? Feeling in your body. So you want to bring your awareness to where am I right now in my physical experience. So we have the energy, attention, and somatic experience that remind us that we are in second circle, and adjust as needed, yeah? Here are some qualities of second circle before we physically test it out. And I'm gonna give you a couple tools you can take with you right before you go into any challenging situation, right? So, because challenging situations is when we tend to go first or third circle. So, qualities of second circle. You want to notice what cultivates these in you when you feel these. I'm connected and focused. The ability to connect one person to another. That is a healthy self, second circle quality. Even in a public situation. In a public situation presenting to 3 people or 10 or 20, I am still connected to the group. 10,000 people, I'm still connected to the group. There's a connection to me and to you. I'm focused. And by connection and focus, I mean my energy goes out to you and the communication energy returns to me. I'm able to give and to receive, yeah? And I was gonna say, this is the point I was gonna make a second ago, is if we find ourselves thinking about all of this too much, this is why it's gonna be a physical experience I'm gonna give you. When we find ourselves thinking too much about this, what circle do you think we end up in? Anybody? Anybody? What circle do we end up in when we find ourselves thinking about this too much? I shall give you the answer. First circle. First circle. When we find ourselves thinking a lot, we usually are withdrawing into ourselves in this illusion of first circle. I'm trying to kind of turn so you can see me with that light situation going on. So yet, it's a physical experience, the experience of second circle, of being fully present. It's both in the mind, it's in my energetic awareness, but it's very much in my body as well. Also, 2 other qualities to second circle. I'm curious and I can listen. I can't listen and I'm not curious when I'm in first circle or when I'm in third circle. Neither of those are about curiosity or listening. This is me talking to you. If this weren't, if you were in a room with me right now, we're having this conversation, I'd love to be talking to you about it. Talking and listening. Qualities of second circle, okay? So, so much I want to share with you today, but I want to get down to some of the tools and the takeaways. I would invite you to think of a situation that likely will pull you into first or third circle. That's my invitation. Think of a situation that may be work related in the next day or so. Let's say the next 3 or 4 days. What's the situation you're going to head into? Because I want you to try this out. I want you to try it out. Situation you're going to head into that would tend to pull you in. You would default into first or third circle. Could be family situation. Could be a work situation. Just notice that. And my invitation is to track that now and to use, if you're seeing this on Facebook, you're part of the Facebook Live for this, then post about it here. Post about it here. Once you've had that situation, post what it was like. What did you experience? And were you able to claim second circle? So I'm going to take you through second circle right now as some tips to take with you as a way of cultivating this. So again, the first tool is awareness. We are always in one of these 3 circles, but it's particularly important when we're in a public situation. That's when we get activated, right? So that's the first thing. Bring awareness to what your default is. Second, bring that awareness to your body and checking in to see. You have to be conscious. That's the mindfulness bit about where am I? How am I reacting right now? Is my voice big? Is my voice small? Am I relaxed? Am I not? Okay. And then bring it to this situation in your life where you can cultivate an experience to test out second circle. And I've used this, by the way, with executives in businesses, with actors, with students, with people. Remember, we're going to introduce it into the ALFT this year. So I'll be using it with COR people, but I've done a lot of people, brought this to a lot of people, and it's really, really, really effective. So here are a couple tips I'm going to give you to take with you before you go into this situation this week or whenever it may be that you might find a challenging situation where you have to be present and speak. The first thing is I'm going to give you a little roll down exercise. So, and you can do this with me right now, or you can do it later. I'm going to describe it to you, and then I'm going to, hopefully that helps with the light. I'm going to describe it to you, and I'm going to describe the posture, and then we're going to do a quick roll down to put us there. So there is a posture to the healthy self. It is kind of the posture of second circle. We might even call it the posture of humility. And by the posture of humility, I mean, I am neither the smallest nor the greatest, right? So the healthy self second circle posture is feet under my shoulders. Again, you can do this even if you're not watching me. You could do it along with me. Feet shoulder width apart, balanced between the heels of my feet and the toes, right? So you can check out that balance spot. Feeling grounded into the earth. There is a feeling in this posture being grounded into the earth. I'm going to go through these really quickly, and you can do it you can slow it down, and we'll do it much more slowly at the ALFD if you see us there, or we can buy Patsy's book. I'm going to go through it quickly here, but this is a slow process, but you want to check in with your feet grounded, shoulder width apart, soft knees, not tight, soft knees. Right? Relaxed kneecaps, right? Pelvic tilt, if you can see this as much as you can see it, right? I'm actually aligned with a little connection in the front, a little pull together in the front. So it's not this kind of sway back where I tend to lean forward, but really aligning myself over my feet, pelvis engaged, up the spine, straight spine. Not this, not that, finding this great neutral place right here, neutral, up to the spine like a tree trunk, and then shoulders not rolled forward or not rolled back, but shoulders simply resting. Shoulders resting, not up to the ears, but simply resting. Head floating over my shoulders, top of the spine, right? Head floating. Top of the spine, everything aligned. This is really important before you go into any situation. It's a way to calm the mind down, a way to reground yourself, to establish confidence, in short, to return you to second circle. So before you move into that situation, find a bathroom somewhere, find a spot, find an empty room, and spend 3 minutes with yourself. 3 minutes with yourself. And what I invite you to do is do a roll down. And the roll down is simply, as much as you can see it, I'm rolling from the top of the head all the way over, one vertebra at a time, until I'm hanging all the way over like a rag doll, right? I know you can't see everything I'm doing right now, but I'm going to describe it to you one more time. So rolling down one vertebra at a time until you're all the way over, flopped over like a rag doll, and letting yourself really just relax there. Finding spaces in the back of the spine, finding breathing room in your lungs, stretching, it'll be a little bit of a stretch. And once you've hung over there for a minute, restack your vertebra, okay? Restack your vertebra one at a time, with the shoulders and head being the last thing to come up into place. And finding for yourself again what feels to you like that good second circle, healthy self posture. Feet under your shoulders, grounded into the earth, kneecaps relaxed, straight spine, supported, shoulders not here, pulled back or apologizing, but simply aligned, head floating. When we do all this, we will find breath, which is something else we could talk about, and voice. We won't have time today to talk about voice and breath so much. I'll say one thing about breath in just a minute. But once we align the body, the breath and the voice follow. And then we can speak from and be present from a place that is receptive, attuned, reactive in a healthy way, connected to myself and others. So you want to check yourself before these situations. You want to give yourself a few minutes to align yourself, do the roll down the spine and the roll up. Find that second circle, healthy self posture. Remember, it lives in the body. It's not a thought. It's not a thought. We do not think ourselves into healthy self. Of course, there is a thought component, and we have to watch our mind, and that's, again, what mindfulness is for. But I urge you to let it be a somatic experience of finding that healthy self posture. And check in with yourself how that feels. What are the emotions? What are the emotions associated with that? Yeah. And try that out before you go into your next situation. And give a little report what it's like after it's done. How did it go? What did it feel like? Yeah. One more tip I want to give you really quickly. This is a great one. One of the things we tend to do, and I'll just take a couple more minutes here and then open it up for any questions you may have. One of the things we tend to do when we're in a public situation is stop breathing. I don't know if you've noticed that. Have you ever caught yourself not breathing? This is one of the things we tend to do when we're stressed. That puts us into first circle, disappearing. By not breathing, it's a way of saying, I really don't want to be here. That's what the body's saying. This is stressful and I really don't want to be here. So I'm going to pretend that I'm not. I'm going to stop breathing. However, we actually are still there. So one of the things we could spend a whole lot of time talking about, and we do when we'll tease this apart into the ALFT, spend lots of time talking about breath and body awareness and how to sustain this. But one tip I'll give you right now is to bring awareness to when you're breathing and when you're not breathing. I don't want to overload you with information, but let me say this. Notice the situations when you're not breathing. I'll put it into the core world for just a second, and you can ask yourself, why am I not breathing? What's the trigger? What's going on? What wound just got hit? That's another exploration. You bring it to a core workshop, come to Noble Man, Radiant Woman, LDT, work on that and discover it. In the practical circumstances of the moment, though, you may want to just notice, oh, I'm not breathing. So you want to breathe. And here's a great way to remind yourself to breathe throughout the day. Hand on the belly and give it a shake. Give it a little shake. Oftentimes we will find ourselves just holding our breath. And it's a great way just to give a little, and you can put a voice behind it. Now, if you did that for a few minutes, you would find either joy would come, often laughter, sometimes tears, sometimes unexplained sadness, but you'll be alive. And that's a quality. That's a real quality of second circle is life. I feel that just from doing that. You might just want to try that. Just try that. Hand on the belly and shake the belly. Keep breathing. Hand on the belly, shake the belly. Keep breathing. Remind yourself, I'm alive. I'm here. Has a wonderful way of diffusing a situation, pulling us out of that first circle tightness that wants to disappear, but also grounding me back in reality. If I'm in this third circle, I own the world mentality, and I'm just talk, and I've stopped connecting. It's like, So that's something you can also do just in the moment, okay? I want to just give you some unofficial homework. There's no second class here, but I want to give you some unofficial homework. And if there are any questions about any of this, feel free to post them. Oh yeah, thank you, Natalie. And I see a lot of you are making comments here. I'm just going to address a couple things really quickly. Yes, the ALFT is the Advanced Leadership and Facilitation Training. It's training we do once every several years, and we're doing it this year. So thank you for asking the question, Meg. And it's one of the things we teach is voice and speech, but it's from this place of body, voice, speech, presence. And I love these three circles that we're borrowing from Patsy Rodenberg to talk about how we sustain healthy self-presence in these situations. But here's your unofficial homework. As I just gave it to you a little while ago, I'm just reminding you, find a situation in the next few days where you're going to find yourself, where you anticipate you may be triggered, challenged, shut down. It's a situation that is a public situation where you must speak, be present, communicate. Let's say that, right? And test this out. Check out. Am I defaulting to first, second, or third circle? Take a few moments to put yourself before the situation into second circle. Check yourself physically, right? Physically, energetically, checking that you are maintaining second circle. And when you're out of it, check it again, and it'll bring you back to it. If you feel yourself shrinking, go, I'm shrinking. Move myself back into second circle, right? Or if you feel yourself getting big and broad and disconnecting, connect with someone. It's one of the most beautiful ways to pull yourself out of third circle, which is big and teachy and preachy, back into ask somebody a question and listen, right? And then report here how this went. Ask questions. Make some comments. I'd love to know how this lives for you in your life. You know, I've taught this many, many times in courses to many, many people over many, many years, and we usually take months. And here I'm just giving you just a quick highlight in a video. And so I'd love to know how this lives for you and what challenges and what successes and what discoveries you have. Okay? That's all the time I'm going to take today. Thank you so much for making time. And post questions even about this that we've talked about. I'm going to let you go now, but post questions and concerns and insights. I'm happy to get back to you on all that. And happy second circle. That's what I wish for you. Happy, happy second circle. Discovering your full presence, your healthy self-presence in those public situations. All right? Blessings to you. See you soon.